Thank you for joining us. This is Live with Miami's Community News, and I'm Michael Miller. Special guest today is David Quilleon, who is the Senior Vice President of Best Buddies. Thank you for joining us today.
Thank you so much for having me, Michael.
Okay.
Super grateful to be here.
Before we go on, I want to know those images that are behind your right shoulder. What are those?
So this is the logo of Best Buddies here. It's the Best Buddies logo that we attach to different podiums, and sometimes I just use it on the window. And then my son drew this one for me.
Oh, very nice.
Yes.
And I recognize the bottom one for years and years. Yes.
It's by Keith Haring. He's was an incredible artist. His aunt had intellectual and developmental disabilities, and he was so passionate about wanting to support Best Buddies when our founder, Anthony Shriver, was kicking off and launching the idea that he contributed and donated this logo for us to use for our organization moving forward back in like 1987.
So frequently people in your position have a personal interest in it. So tell us about initially what caused you to join.
Yes. So I grew up in South Florida, and I'm the youngest of 5 children, and I have 2 siblings with intellectual and developmental disabilities. And I really wanted to make sure growing up that they were afforded the same opportunities as me, being able to have really great friends and having opportunities to get their driver's license and pursue careers and really just be included in all the different activities of the school and the community. And my parents were both really big advocates for wanting my siblings to have just an incredible life. And so that's really what motivated me to actually get involved in the organization as a student volunteer. I helped start the Best Buddies chapter at the University of South Florida in Tampa, and both my siblings have been involved in the organization for their entire lives.
That's terrific. A few months ago, Miami-Dade County Commissioner Raquel Regalado was in our office. We had a meet and greet here, and she said something that sticks with me. She has 2 adult children that are on the spectrum, and she says they deserve a seat at the table. And so it's really stuck with me a lot, just those couple of words that are there. And we understand that it's our obligation to make sure that that table is available, to them should they choose to do this. So let's talk a little bit about Best Buddies. What's it about? Who the participants, and also if people want to volunteer, what they can do.
Sure. So, Best Buddies is really all about making sure that people with intellectual and developmental disabilities have incredible opportunities to be friends, to have great jobs, to develop leadership skills, to live in an inclusive way at really nice places, and then also to make sure that their families are receiving the support needed in order to make all those things a reality for their loved ones with intellectual and developmental disabilities. The number one reason why a person with an intellectual disability may lose a job is due to a lack of social skills. And so our friendship programs are really vital at creating opportunities for our participants with intellectual disabilities, individuals with autism, Down syndrome, Fragile X, a whole variety of different developmental disabilities are the individuals who we're talking about, individuals who are in special education services within a school environment, as well as adults with intellectual disabilities. Those are all the people who we are working to pair them in one-to-one friendship matches with adult volunteers without disabilities or student volunteers without disabilities to be included in other clubs, to have lunch in the cafeteria, to go to the prom and the homecoming and all the school activities that happen, every day in our communities.
You brought up something interesting about the families. The family also needs to be a participant in that, because for the most part, this might be the first time they're challenged with that. So how important is getting the family involved in this?
The family is super important. I think sometimes, while the world is changing, Michael, there is still a lot of just misinformation out there about what a life can look like for a person with intellectual disabilities. Many people think that, they shouldn't get married and they can't work and they have to, be isolated. And that is not true. And so we work with families, maybe when they first receive a diagnosis for their child with intellectual disabilities, making sure that they understand that this life can be incredible and that they will have incredible moments to to work, to follow their dreams, to find love, to have great friends, to be leaders in their community. And so,
So one of the things we recognize that if we are not exposed to those things, we don't quite know what to do with. There was a TV show, I don't know if it's still on. It was on one of the cable companies. You're smiling, you know what show I'm talking about, where it shows these youngsters getting into relationships and the excitement of the family and how excited the participants in that were. And when we watch it, we realize they're human beings just like everybody else, similar feelings, and they want those things that you mentioned.
yeah.
So how does Best Buddies help them achieve that?
So first, I mean, we have 5 different pillars. So the first pillar is around friendship. And so we help them by achieving that by connecting them with their peers without intellectual disabilities. You know, the old saying, it's not what you know, it's who you know. And
Yeah.
you got to have opportunities. It's your friends that are there for you during the most difficult times of life. It's the friends that stand by you when you get married. It's your friends that help connect you to jobs and to better living situations. It's your friends who you can turn to maybe, you know, help you out in some way. And so being able to connect a person without an intellectual disability in a friendship to a person with disability is really how change happens. And that maybe that person without an intellectual disability, when they go on to be the CEO or the chief human resource officer for some company, they'll be that much more likely to hire a person with intellectual disabilities because of their experience of having a friend with someone with an intellectual disability during school. So that's the first part of our program. And then with jobs, you know, we're going into companies and letting them know that we have an incredible group of talent that could be super supportive to a whole wide variety of different areas, from legal to entertainment, hospitality, you name it. You know, we have a person who would be really incredible to work on your team and help support your company culture.
Well, we're having a meet and greet at our office in a couple of days, and being that it is Autism Awareness Month, I would like to invite you or somebody from your office just to come down, to be available for conversations and pass out some brochures. We're having a representative from the University of Miami from one of their programs coming over, and we have. Let's see. I hope that Rabbi Yossi Harlick from Friendship Circle is going to be here. And then there's one other one. I forgot the other one. But we're going to have some folks from a couple different chambers here. We expect 40 to 60 people. Feel free to send somebody by. Make sure there's some brochures that we can give out. So a couple of years ago, I was exposed a little bit more to people on the spectrum and to autism. And my only remembrance of somebody with autism was a young boy. He was probably about 5 years old, 6 years old, and he would be rocking all the time, saying his name back and forth. Well, I saw that young man not too many years ago. Bright young man, dressed shirt and tie like his daddy, and working at one of the grocery stores. And he calls me Mr. Miller, and he comes over and he shakes my hand. And what a difference that made. And it opened the door for us to be more giving and more understanding of people that are and I use the term, I'm not sure if it's the right one, on the spectrum, because at the end of the day, we're all on the spectrum. It's just
absolutely
where we are on that. And one of the things that we recognize here, if we have an expectation that the light bulb on the outside of our house should be 100 watt, but it's only 30, the 30 watt is doing the best it can. Right. And we should let that shine, because everybody brings some light, to this world.
For sure.
And so, again, feel free to send somebody over if you like, or yourself.
Yes.
So tell us what mentors and volunteers can do for Best Buddies and for the participants, and how they could get involved.
Sure. So, I mean, first and foremost, you can start a chapter of Best Buddies in your school. We have elementary school programs, middle school programs, high school programs, college programs. I encourage parents to encourage their kids to find out if there's a Best Buddies chapter in their school, and then get involved and get matched and get connected. The whole premise of the organization is to build a mutually enriching one-to-one friendship. And so the pairs get together on the weekends. They are committed for the academic school year to at least see each other twice a month and make contact once a week, although many of our friendship matches do even more than that, developing these incredible friendships. And really, it's just to do the things that you love, whether it's watching a football game or March Madness, or going to the movies, or playing a sport, or going swimming, or working out, or whatever the things that friends like to do with each other. That's what we want you to do with your best buddy. And it just goes so far in terms of helping the person with intellectual disabilities to develop those social skills, but also to feel connected to their community and not be so isolated. I mean, you'd be so surprised, Michael. There's still so many kids with intellectual disabilities in the high school that never get invited to their high school prom, or go to their homecoming dance, or get asked to go to the football games, and they can be very isolated. And so these programs really open the door for them to experience everything that everybody else is doing in a high school environment.
So, and I know you've probably heard this story before. So imagine they have somebody has no intellectual abilities, but they're feeling awkward and they don't get invited. And so what I suggest is, if you've ever had that moment in your life, think what it would be like if it happened all the time.
Yeah.
But let's talk about how participants can work on improving their social skills, because I understand that's a huge part of it. What can they do, and what could we as people in the community do to help them get a little more accustomed to what it's like to interact with people?
Sure. Well, I think it's just be authentic, and don't be afraid of making some type of mistake. It's okay to ask people questions. It's okay, to engage with people with intellectual disabilities. They are, I mean, you said it earlier, we're all human, and as humans, we all want to connect. And so, when someone wants to take an interest in the things that you like and the things that you enjoy, that's the way that, we build connection. That's how you build belonging, and making people feel really good about their talents and their abilities. And everyone, kindness costs nothing. It's absolutely free. And I think sometimes in South Florida, we forget that, kindness can go so far, and extending a hand of friendship. And for Best Buddies, that's really what we're doing, is we're changing the world with the power of friendship. And every single one of us as a human has the opportunity to do that every single day.
Well, in community newspapers, more than 30% of the TV shows that we do are directly related to health, all sorts of the health. We've interviewed people that are on the spectrum, people that have had spouses that committed suicide, people that are in 12-step programs, and we recognize it's huge, and we have the ability to amplify that voice and be able to bring them up so there can be a real conversation about life and what we need to do. And I've known Rabbi Harlick for many years, and I've watched him grow, to continue to grow. We have a wonderful relationship, and through him, I had this constant awareness of children and adults with autism. And although we've only had a few conversations about the participants, but it's more about the programs, the empathy that we understand now is so much greater because of people like that and people like you.
Sure.
So you mentioned that there can be some chapters in schools. Yeah, are there any upper educational colleges or junior college or community colleges that have your programs?
Yes, University of Miami, FIU, Lynn University in Boca, FAU, all the different, University of Florida, Florida State, University of South Florida. I mean, there's
just a couple.
Yeah, just a couple to name. I mean, we were founded at Georgetown. We're at almost 1,400 colleges, higher education places around the world, and still growing, and still working to want to start new programs and make those connections. And I'd also invite the South Florida community to join us on Saturday, April 5th. We're going to be at the Lone Depot Park where the Miami Marlins play for our Best Buddies Friendship Walk in the morning. And people will be able to meet and engage with a lot of our participants and celebrate friendship. And it'll be a super fun day. WSVN will be out there, and it'll be super fun.
So go back 25 years. Did you ever imagine you're going to start an organization and you're going to impact so many people? Did you see that?
I mean, I never imagined that. I mean, Anthony Shriver founded Best Buddies. And I know, we've had this conversation many times when he was a student at Georgetown University, if he ever imagined what the impact of Best Buddies could look like. His mom founded Special Olympics and his dad founded the Peace Corps. And I think he is just absolutely so thrilled to see how Best Buddies continues to evolve and support people with intellectual disabilities, and also really to see the world start to understand that this is a group of people that, when given the right supports, have incredible abilities to support corporate cultures, to really, be leaders in the community, to live, on their own, and to experience life in such a meaningful way, and meaningful to each one of us. So, I mean, that's really what it's all about. And there's still a lot more work to be done. I mean, I do believe that people with intellectual disabilities still by far are the most maligned and disenfranchised group of people in the world. There's still people using the R word and using words and preventing them from being able to be as successful as possible. And so it really is going to take the community and all of us to help continue to amplify and to elevate and make sure that people with intellectual disabilities not only have a seat at the table, but that their voice is heard, and that we consider their voices and their ideas as solutions for the future.
So here you are, you're like 35 years old, all right?
Yes.
Okay. So what's the next 5 to 10 years look like for Best Buddies here?
Yes, so I know we definitely want to continue expanding our inclusive living program, which provides opportunities for people with and without disabilities to live together. And we've been doing, we have 10 residences now associated with higher ed institutions around the country. And we are looking at being able to expand that even more. I mean, some of the living conditions or opportunities for people with IDD just aren't really that attractive. And so we're really excited about being able to change the game for what's possible in the living residence space. And then also really working to be able to support families. I told you I'm a sibling of 2 individuals with intellectual disabilities, but I've recently lost my 2 siblings over the last 2 years, and it's been a really difficult journey. But I also have noticed that even in the medical world, I don't think that they're all prepared for caring for people with intellectual disabilities and have the knowledge base or understanding in terms of how best to support people with intellectual disabilities. And certainly, I think making sure that families and caregivers understand how to navigate through the medical channels, and really to be able to showcase that people with intellectual disabilities can accomplish all kinds of things when given the right opportunities to do so.
So it's so important for the families to learn that. They have to be taught that. They have to learn it. You have to reinforce it. Yeah. So when they get frustrated, right, they got to remember words matter.
Absolutely, they do.
And
doctors don't know everything, Michael. Doctors don't know everything. I know that the doctors told my mom that my sister would never walk, and that was 100% not true. My sister roller skated, she played basketball, she played softball, she swam. She walked just fine. So I think it's just to believe that, anything is possible, and that, humans, we don't know everything. So you have to keep working at it and believe it and achieve it.
So we understand in the medical arena and health, you have to have an advocate, because even if you don't have those challenges and you go into a hospital, you better watch out.
Absolutely.
Right?
Absolutely.
Because of either lack of knowledge or mistakes or errors, right? And so we try to be advocates for people that need that assistance. But at the end of the day, in a workplace, what can an employer do with somebody that has some disabilities, that hasn't quite figured out on the social interaction, and the lack of that, and because of that, they can't participate? What would you suggest the employer do?
I think just having conversations about what people's experiences are with individuals that have intellectual and developmental disabilities. If you've met one person with autism, you've met one person with autism, right? It's not everybody with autism or everybody with Down syndrome is all the same, but giving people an opportunity to ask questions, to engage in conversations. You can build natural supports in a company. There wouldn't be a human resources office if the humans didn't all need some type of support. So yes. Recognizing that, some individuals may need some support and some different things to be able to help them be successful. But many of those accommodations are as simple as just like a list or something yes. taped, to a window. So I think that just being open to hiring individuals with intellectual disabilities also could really change your company's culture and make it that where everybody is really excited about coming to work, just because they've chosen to hire a more diverse team to work alongside each other.
I'm sorry, Alex, could you run the website? So we had that opportunity, which we took 2 years ago, changed my life, changed the life of the 30 people that are here, and the dozens and dozens and dozens of people that come to the office. So we're sort of like the Beatles. We're all living the Yellow Submarine routine. And so it's really been instrumental, and not just in allowing that to happen, but in making us better people and understanding that we're all not as bright as we are. I'm sorry, you didn't pass the SAT. So, and to understand this is the way life is.
Yeah.
And, so if people can go to your website, which is bestbuddies.org, and they can find out more about what you do and what your team does, and how people can volunteer or to help create or participate in a local Best Buddies chapter at one of those schools, many schools. Is there an age group that typically volunteers for you?
I mean, we have so many, wide array of volunteers. We say that Best Buddies is really from, K to gray, although it's even earlier, now, or we're starting to get into, supporting young families as well. So, but I think, the youth, the middle school, high school, college aged group of students that want to be a part of Best Buddies, that's probably our largest age range group of students that are contributing to our programs every single day. But we have space for people at all different ages. They can join our different advisory boards. They can help us with our Best Buddies friendship walks around the country, or our galas, or help us serve as actual volunteers. We have our eBuddies program, which is our virtual program that you can connect virtually with somebody with an intellectual disability from another state. So we have something for everyone, depending on what kind of time and energy they have to be able to volunteer.
So frequently people think that it's only one person. They don't think it's going to matter. I want to do a shout out for a young lady. Her name is Lauren Page, and she was here 4 years ago. At that point, she was in 10th grade. When she was in 2nd grade, she said to her parents, "Mommy, Daddy, do you know some kids can't read?" And the folks said, "So what do you want to do about it?" Well, between the 2nd and 10th grade, they distributed 300,000 books. And now, since she started it, 770,000 books have been redistributed. And her younger brother, Chris, was just here talking about it with his mother. And it's pagebypage.com. That's his last name, Page, and Page like a book. And something interesting happened, that we had a couple of extra books here, and we gave the books to them while they were here. And while we're here, we have somebody who works with us who's also a teacher. And so she said, "Oh, I'll take those books and I'll give them to my kids." And then a little later on, the Page family brought over a couple more boxes of books and gave them to her, which she distributed. And it was always here. It was right in front of us. But because we weren't tuned into it, and we needed this third party to cause us to go and get these 2 books to give them to them, and the person who got the books was producing the show. So it was within 5 feet of us the whole time. So frequently the answer is right around us. And we're going to wrap up here. And David, congratulations on making a huge, huge difference in not just this community, but around the country and around the world.
We really appreciate that. And we appreciate you sharing about Best Buddies and letting all of your friends and family and anyone who wants to be a part of this global volunteer movement to change the world for people with intellectual and developmental disabilities come our way. We'd love to welcome you. You're
doing great work, David. And thanks for joining us. Folks, again, thank you for tuning in. Remember, take care of yourselves and you have a family, and volunteer sometime, someplace. Consider Best Buddies. See you, David.
Thanks, Michael. Appreciate it.
Bye.